Hi, welcome back to another episode of SEO on Air. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we have Russ Macumber, co-founder and managing director of Impressive. We talk about some of the challenges he faced in his early days, how SEO has changed over the years, and what he thinks about AI and marketing. I hope you enjoy this episode. But what was the initial start for the Impressive exactly? Like, I feel like you've touched your toe in a lot of digital marketing or marketing in general, but where did Impressive fall in?
So Impressive, I was kind of a marketing generalist and a copywriter. I ran across a range of different roles. I moved into digital marketing for a tech company in 2012, and that's when I fell in love, like just with the data, with analytics. Like I'm one of those people who, when Google changed from UA to GA4, like there was like a grieving process for me because UA, I learnt digital marketing through the lens of Google Analytics. This is, user behavior. This is, time on site and bounce and conversion and all these different metrics that was learnt to me through the analytics program, helping businesses navigate that, figuring out website engagement, behavior, all those bits and pieces from UA. Right. So tech company, I ran the sales team and did business education there. And that's when I started at Impressive in 2017. So I moved from the tech side, which was client side, to agency side in 2017 with Impressive. It was just a little startup at that point.
Right. And in the past 7 years, I mean, it's grown to be a good decision from you. Exactly.
Oh, for sure. So I went just for full visibility. So I was managing a team. We had about 20 in our team at the tech company. And I went over and became an individual contributor at Impressive because it was small business. Yeah. I was staff member number 7. We were in a shared office space. We were just, making stuff up as we went along, like in terms of like processes. I remember being on the phone to prospects and saying, I'm just walking past our content team. There's one chick, her name was Amy. Oh, and I just had a chat to the technical SEO team. That was Chris, So that was the early days of Impressive, but we grew that super, super quickly through 2017, 18, 19. And it was around 2018 that I started picking up American clients that we realized the owner of the Impressive Australia, Rob, and myself realized, well, there's an opportunity there in the US. We're going to do a much better job of servicing these clients from over there. We'll understand the market better from over there. So we joined forces. So 2019, we created the Impressive US entity, Rob and myself. Right. And then COVID happened and bits and pieces. We got here in 2021, basically.
All right. So wait, so 2019 is when you kind of started, but it only really finished developing, I think, by 2021?
Yeah, that's 2019. It was registered 2020 and 2021. We had some clients, but it was a mess because we couldn't get out of Australia. So our American clients were getting certain. Then there was we had a whole lot of drama around. So firstly, it was the Australian team doing the work for Americans. We realized that wasn't going to work. So then we said, okay, I'm going to move over there. I started hiring Americans to do the work, but I was managing them from Australia because I couldn't get out because of COVID.
Right.
That didn't work because of the time zone difference, and it was horrible. So then we ended up bringing it all back into Australia just over 2021. And then we got to America in 2021, end of 2021. And at that point, I was still using the Australian team, and I started hiring an American team. So really Impressive USA kind of started from scratch in 2022. January 2022 was probably this iteration of it because of the stops and starts and the disjointed team and all that sort of stuff. But from January 2022 to now is the real kind of birth and beginnings of Impressive USA.
All right. So we'll dial a little bit back to the Impressive Australia version of it. When that did start off, I'm not going to assume that you were already the perfect leader. I feel like there might have been a few mistakes here and there. Were there anything, let's say, that kind of made you think, okay, cool, this might not be for me because I've made XYZ mistake? And how did you kind of get over it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just to be open, like Rob was leading the whole agency and I was leading the sales team. And but we were a big part of the growth of that company. We were per Deloitte, they do the Tech Fast 50 in Australia, and we were the fastest growing digital agency in Australia in that period. We grew from like $500,000 to 15 plus mil in a 3-year period. Like it was really quick.
Wow.
Mistakes, lots of mistakes. Selling poor fit clients, selling clients that didn't fit the ICP or just didn't have the revenue to support it. Lots of team members that were brought on that probably weren't vetted properly.
Right.
There are lots of growing pains. Not enough. Okay, here's the biggest one. Not enough documented process, because the reason we're making stuff up as we went along, and the reason we had poor fit applicants and poor fit clients is because we didn't have things tightly documented from a process perspective. That's probably the biggest learning.
Was that something that came up then over time, and you were like, hey, listen, it's been 2-3 years. We really need to process how we do this?
Well, I think the thing is we were a very strong sales organization. We had myself and another couple of, and Sam, and then Rob was still selling, and we had some other guys in the sales team who were really contributing.
Right.
So it was like, you lean into your strengths. That was like our we knew that process wasn't great. We tried bringing in some operations managers and the like to document stuff, but then we were just closing deals. Like it was like, okay, yeah, it's not great, but we're growing. Let's just keep doing this, keep putting more stuff on, get a bigger space. So yes, we did flag it along the journey, but as such a strong sales organization, it just didn't feel as important, to be honest, which is not true. In retrospect, it was a missed opportunity. But at the time, it was like, okay, yep, that broke. But look, we've just brought in $1 million in new revenue. So, I think we're going to be okay.
It's kind of like if you can get by without it, you might have just been like, hey, listen, I'll survive without it. It's fine. But if you did have it, it would have been like a bonus, I guess.
I definitely think it would have helped just solidify the base a little bit better. Maybe helped a bit more long term with the. I mean, I'm not really involved with the Australian agency much now, but and it's a very different business now to when I left in 2021. But we probably would have saved a lot of pain for the transition to where it is now, because it's in a really good place now. But yeah, process definitely something that I'd recommend any startup just invest more time in than you think you should.
So let me just work with the hypothetical here. I'm trying to be exactly like you. I've had also like a very rough start. I wasn't the best student. I tried my hand at a lot of things. I kind of came to the point where I should just do an agency type thing. I can try serving SEO clients or digital marketing clients. I've got the revenue for it, or the capital for it. And I've got, let's say, a small hand of team who would hopefully bring in more people of the right quality. Let's say I start off by documenting what the process would be like, and I hire the right fit people for my company. How do I grow it now? Like, how do I make sure that month after month I'm getting like a 10% or 20% increase?
Well, this is where Impressive Australia got it right. Like, if you're not sales led and you don't have a really strong culture of new business and a really firm understanding of who your ICP is and going after that ICP consistently, it's going to be really hard to grow. So I think having whatever sales process you've got in place, usually when it's a founder and just a few people off to the side supporting, which is what Impressive US was at the start, it's a lot of that sales process just lives inside the founder's head. So it would be documenting it all down. So things like ICP, what is that ICP? Is it really clear? By vertical, by revenue, by by product, by whatever it happens to be. And then once I've got an ICP, inside that ICP, who are the persona or personas that I'm targeting, and I'm really clear understanding of who they are, so that you can fine tune your messaging. Once you've got those things played out, then it's understanding, okay, well then what, for all of the deals that I've closed in the early stages of this business, what are the consistent things that I've done along the journey? And then mapping that out. The reason this is really important is because if it just lives inside your head, it's going to be really hard to build a sales team to keep scaling. You talked about 10%, 10 growth month on month on month. That gets really hard with just one seller, right? You're going to need other people to come in and replicate what you do. But especially in a remote environment, back at Impressive Australia, we had the advantage of being all in person, right? So we didn't have a lot of documents, but from a sales perspective, people could look at the way I'm selling. They can look at Sam, Rob, other people. They had a template there, just listen. Yeah. Okay, I'll say it like that. Great. But with this remote environment, you're like, if it's not documented clearly, how do you expect some people to come in? So that's one part. But then the product side, you can have the same issue that we had, where you're just like new business, new business, new business. Like if the product is not strong, then it's just going to be going out the other end. So I think building a strong sales culture built on, strong ICP, discipline, consistency is a big part of that growth. But in terms of, you can have top line revenue growth, but profitability, like that's where your product has to be, really, really well honed, because you want a lot of growth to come out of your current. If you're doing really good work, a lot of the growth will come out of your current customers. That's where it should come from as well.
So what if I've taken all your points into account. I'm trying to make my business now to that level. But the issue is that the product that I want to offer, or basically the service, is SEO. So how would you say would be the best way to kind of get an SEO agency started up without having those, let's say, the growing pains, or at least less growing pains, at least?
Yeah, I mean, you need really good talent. Like that sounds really obvious, but someone's got to come in with some methodology, some proven methodology that they've put in place previously. So if that first hire is crucial. And I would even think, so one thing that I've done with Impressive USA, which I'm really proud of, is I'm a big sports guy, as I mentioned before. I'm big on the ability for coaches to draw more out of people. Okay. When you're small, it's really hard. You can't afford to hire a gun and then also hire like a full-time coach who's like, years ahead of them to guide them. Like no small business can afford that. So we have fractional coaches. So all of our key people have access to someone who is really experienced, who has like huge success behind them. The fractional coaches, are people that my team can tap into that help them. It's people who are maybe 3 to 5 years ahead, potentially, maybe more, depending on what you want to get out of them. Because what I want from my team, so if my team needs to know anything about sales or leadership or, broader operations, marketing, obviously, because I've been in it for so long, and, traditional connecting to digital, then I'm their guy. But if they want to know more specifics around technical SEO or Google Ads, this new demand gen product that's being built, or other things, or operations to a more granular perspective, I don't have those answers. So to answer your question, back to your original question, what you need a really strong SEO, at least 5 years experience, because they need to have some methodology in mind that they can then document and put in place, some proven experience. And then I would look to try to find like a fractional coach for them.
That, like now I've tried to take over this business. I've done my best. I've got the right employees. I've worked on them as well. But one of the leadership issues that I'm having is that I'm very much hustle culture minded, and I'm burning myself out. But at the same time, I'm also burning my employees out. So let's say it's a two-part question. What can I do to make sure that I don't burn out as a leader? And how do I make sure that the team that I've built doesn't burn out as well, but we still kind of continue growing in a way?
Yeah. So firstly to yourself, so you don't burn out, because it's the Simpsons joke where the oxygen comes down. You need to make sure you get oxygen on yourself before you can help anyone else. So that's really important. I think like actually empowering, not just empowering in title, but actually empowering your people to take stuff off your plate, have them own that stuff and trust them. So it comes down to trust, comes down to good judgment. But if you don't empower your people to actually own parts of your business, you're going to burn out. That's just, and that, if we want to front load that, well, then you want to be bringing in people with the view that, okay, in 3 months' time, I need this person taking all of this off my plate and they'll run it. Because otherwise your brain, you're just redlining, you're too full. You're not going to be able to act anywhere near peak performance.
Okay.
So that would be part one, like hiring with that in mind, genuinely giving that authority and that ownership to your leadership team or to people within your team. That has to ease some of the burden on yourself. If you don't do that, you're just going to you're going to burn out. You'll be a solopreneur as opposed to someone who's actually leading a strong team.
Okay.
Second part to that question was, how do you make sure they don't burn out? Well, I think it's a lot of the similar advice, like as their teams start to build, it's understanding that, okay. And the thing is, if you're hiring well, you want to hire A players. They take accountability. They've got really high standards. They communicate. I think that once you've got a good leadership team in place, it's building a value set with them that talks about what's really important to you, to them, to the company for its growth. That's part of it, because, what should be important is that, we keep each other sane. We lift each other up. So, however that sort of feeds into your values. And then, they need to feel comfortable to push back when something's not. We're big on swim lanes. We talk about swim lanes in our company. Okay. So if something's in my swim lane, I own it. Maybe I can farm out some responsibility for some help, but I own whether it gets done or not done. Something comes into my swim lane that's not mine, Aaron, that's actually in your lane, but I'm happy to support you as you need, but that's in your lane. So building a culture of radical candor, one of my favorite books, where people can talk to each other candidly, push back, pull in what they need to do. I think that's really important, because where you see people burning out is where they just keep taking stuff on. Yep. Okay. Yep. I can do it. Okay. Of course. I want to be helpful. I want to be impressive, all those different things. Right. But if you don't have an environment where people feel comfortable to push back, where people feel, or where there's structures in place where people know I can push back because we already went through the lane session and this is my lane and that's very clearly in someone else's lane. So I don't even need to, it's nothing personal. It's just not what we decided is the best way to run this company.
Right. What I've normally seen with some people sometimes is that when they do something good at their job, the higher ups normally put more on their plate because they've done a good job. So some people fear being like, hey, I don't want to do the best job because I know they're going to start giving me stuff that might not be in my lane.
Yeah.
Which comes down to a leadership problem, I guess.
100% a leadership problem like that. And that's why they say people don't leave companies, they leave bosses,
Right.
So if you're worried about that being, I would say if you're an ambitious person and you're worried about giving your all in your company because of what it might do for your sanity and for your mental health and your physical health.
That's a company you need to leave.
That's exactly right.
Fair enough. So let's say, again, to continue the hypothetical situation, I've now put in place a few culture activities so that my employees don't burn out. I've made sure that they follow a routine that doesn't get them to do too much of work, but at the same time, the work is still getting done. I'm not sacrificing my own mental health for these things because I know that if I can't provide, my own team won't be able to provide the clients. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of, let's say, worked on what I need to do. And we are seeing that growth of, let's say, 10% or 5% every month. How do I ensure this carries on for years? Because I think you've done it for now 7 years.
Okay. Good people, good systems. I think as we've grown as an agency, both the Australian and the American, we have leveled up in people along the way. I've seen some people who I thought were really, really talented and who are talented, but just maybe became not a fit for where we were going. So you are, over time, as your company is growing, as you're bringing on new clients with more complex problems, with more stakeholder management at their end because they're bigger clients, you are going to need either your people to step up or you're going to need to understand that's a bit too far for them and there's hard decisions that have to be made. So it's letting go of the past and then bringing in new standards, new people. Those new people come in, especially if you get your hiring right and you've got, for the US agency, we use the top grading, which is the Jeff Smart.
Right.
So, we feel really good about the people that are coming in. What they do is everyone else in the organization goes, whoa, I see where this person's at. I need to lift up. They see a really clear gap of how we normally do things and where this person is bringing it to. At the same time, they need to be good people. you don't want people, coming in that are going to ruffle feathers. There's that, the values alignment and the skills and the, standards and those sorts of things.
Can I do the same thing, but in terms of, let's say, having more products and services? Like if I know my team is always growing in a good manner, can I start introducing more products and services? And when do I know when to stop offering? Because I could just keep offering something again and again and, have a whole list of packages and services.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of deeper specialization rather than being a shallow generalist. That said, if you're just SEO and you want to add on something which is related, like paid media, because there's so much overlap, great. CRO, because we all know that, if your site is converting more, it's going to help you pay campaigns, it's going to help you rank. There's things which are related.
Right.
How do you know what to add? Your customers. They're the best, your current customers. They have an understanding of what you do well. You've got trust there. I think that's your best source of new channel, new service ideas. Okay. And even if they're not asking you specifically, ideally, you have got such a good relationship with your customers that they feel comfortable to ask, hey, you guys do anything in the marketing automation space? Because, we need some help over here. If they're asking those questions because they trust you, they trust that you've got good judgment and good people. So I think that's a good place. But if they're not asking those questions, like depending on the volume of customers you've got and the relationships you've got with your customers, like you could just ask them, like, what are some other things that would be handy for us to do? Because I know you're busy and, what are some of the other things? And, they might say, well, if you could help us with our web dev, if there was some UX work you could do, some creative off our plate would be great. So I think your current customers, because your current customers have got the best sense of how you communicate, how you engage, how quickly you turn things around, the quality of the work that you do.
And it's an indicator of what exactly the demand is also.
Exactly.
Because if you see multiple clients being like, hey, listen, I do want help in PPC, that's something you should probably start offering.
100%.
So is this something like this that happened with Impressive, where in the beginning you had, let's say, 3 or 4 offerings, and then years later now you have like 5 or 6? Or has it been very steady that this is what we do and we are really good at it?
Yeah, that's interesting. So the Australian agency and the American agency, in this respect, they are a little bit separate because the American agency started in 2022. So we are kind of back where the Australian agency was, but I can talk to both. So the Australian agency started out as, it was actually started really wide. It was full service, web development, web design, UX, organic social,
the whole
SEO, everything. Right. And then it narrowed in to SEO and paid media. Like it went, okay, let's cut all these out. We're not as good at it. We're really good at this. Then over time, we had customers saying, could you help with, do you guys do anything with Klaviyo, with HubSpot? Do you guys do it? Right. And we started to expand it out again. So that started wide, narrowed in on specialization, and then started to broaden out. So the Australian agency now does data and analytics and programmatic and UX and lots of stuff. Basically anything that touches anything performance related, the Australian agency does, because they've had a proven formula of the SEO and the paid, and they were able to add on stuff at good, really high quality, high standards that their customers liked. So they're now full everything performance. They even do, I say they because I'm in the US here now. We're all obviously impressive. But I just also look at that as something that I aspire to. So they do, digital out of home and all sorts of things that connects into when Barbie was huge last year and there was huge Mattel activation, impressive. We ran that throughout Australia. So anything Barbie that you saw anywhere was us. So that's an example of how that, started wide, shrunk in, and then expanded as our customers asked for it. So when we landed here in the US, we had a big wide range of services because we're a more established agency. I got here and people were like, you do what? For who? Like my value proposition was way too wide. My service offering was too wide. What do you do best, Russ? Well, we do, SEO and paid media, but, we do all these other things at a really high level. Right. And I realized okay, I need to, I'm not impressive where Impressive Australia is in that market. I don't have the brand equity. I don't have that kind of oomph behind me. So I narrowed in on SEO and paid media, really clear. And then it was about narrowing in on customer, because I had American markets very different to Australia. In Australia, you pick up some logos, some big logos, and do really great work, and you can pretty much work with anyone. It's a smaller market. Okay. We're now in the US where if I go a 3-hour drive in any one direction from where I am now in Austin, I'll hit more people than I wouldn't in the whole of Australia. It's just a different, where you are now, it's exactly the same. It's a much.
I could walk out and I would hit 3 people.
Yeah, exactly. So, so a very different market here, a lot more offerings, similar. So it had to be okay, well, what exactly do you do? So we landed on SEO and paid media for B2C brands, consumer-facing brands, direct-to-consumers, retail e-commerce, restaurants. That is our sweet spot. And since we narrowed in on service, but also on the type of customer, it's seen huge growth for the US agency. So one day down the road, we'll start adding things like where Australia is, and then I'm going to pass Australia, and I can't wait. But they're a few years ahead of us at this point.
Because I was feeling like this was kind of building up to this is still Impressive Australia and Impressive US, but it kind of felt like it was Impressive Australia versus Impressive US. And there's something wrong with a bit of healthy competition between two branches. Why
let's be honest, at this point, it's like Impressive Australia is like a 17, 18-year-old getting ready to go to college, and Impressive US is just started kindergarten and is looking up at Big Brother, and like there's a long, long way to go. But we're on the same path that they are.
And like there's a lot more opportunities, I guess, because it's so young, still a lot to kind of develop and learn.
Yeah, and I was able to, the stuff that I mentioned earlier, that the mistakes and the stuff we do differently, like I've been able to implement that in the US version of Impressive. So bigger on process much earlier on, bigger on ICP fit, really, really selective on deal flow, like only having conversations. We don't even build a proposal for someone unless they really meet our criteria of what is a great client for us. These are things that we didn't do in Australia. Learnings that I brought across to this US entity.
Which is a good thing though, because I mean, like whatever mistakes you did make with Impressive Australia, you're probably not going to make the same one with Impressive US.
Yes, totally. I mean, there's been some, let's be honest.
But for a second, I was going to be like, wait a minute.
For the most part, for the most part, it's been new learnings. But then even as I've been here, because it's a completely different market, there's things that you just do differently here. Especially in Texas, like from a business perspective, Texas, like really, really business friendly in terms of low tax, access to talent, less restrictions on, just less restrictive. It's much less restrictive than Australia, for example. So there's been a lot of stuff which I've come in here with a mindset of building it the way that we did it in Australia with some learnings, trying that here and then realizing, oh, wait a second, I don't need to do it that way because of this. Or they've got at-will employment here. Okay, well, that's different. What does that mean? There's been a lot that I've had to learn on the ground here, which, for the next business I run here in America or whatever point that is, I'll have those learnings again. So you're constantly getting better, learning from previous version of yourself, mistakes that you make. I always tell people, like, if I'm chatting to the team I mentor a bunch of people just informally, and like every now and then they'll go, man, how did you figure that out? Like, it's so clever. And I'll be like, honestly, it's just from mistakes. I just made so many dumb errors over the years. You bang your head against the wall that many times and you go, oh, wait a second, that hurts. I won't do that anymore. And then you sound smart to people, but it's just learning from your own mistakes.
So if you had like a 2-minute plug to just talk about yourself and Impressive Australia and US, this is your time. Go for it.
Okay, cool. So Impressive, let's talk about the US because that's where I am. So Impressive US, we work with mainly sort of retail e-commerce businesses, mid-market to enterprise type brands. Now, what we do really well is we build strong relationships with our clients. I put all of my team through very extensive soft skills training. We do just outstanding work with SEO and paid media campaigns. And the way that those strategies are integrated and work together, so that you're not having them running in different silos trying to get results, to the detriment of the other. So we work with a range of clients here. We've won a bunch of awards. From a client perspective, we work with Dine Group. They own Applebee's and IHOP and Fuzzy's Tacos. So that's one of our clients. We have a client called Precor, which if you go to the gym, next time anyone goes to the gym, if you're listening to this in the gym right now, have a look around. You're going to see Lifestyle Fitness and you're going to see Precor. It's one of the world's largest fitness brands. We work with them as well. We had a brand called Corksicle, which is a drinkware brand. Still Austin, which is a whiskey brand. But really, it's a lot of direct-to-consumer, consumer-facing brands. And we help them put together really strong strategy. I've got a team of people who are they're marketers first and foremost. They're not necessarily technical people, although, a couple of them do Python code and all sorts of things. But that's just a tool that they use to implement really strong marketing, a really strong marketing sense. So I'm an old school marketer. I take my team through, you can kind of see it on the wall behind me there. We have, lab sessions where once a week we will problem solve a particular client, one particular problem, and we just go to town. It's just a big marketing nerd fest. So, that kind of mindset towards what we do has helped us be the US agency, best new agency at the US Agency Awards last year. So that was a very proud award for Impressive. We've won a couple of awards at the Austin Business Awards, Best Customer Experience and Best Company Culture. We've been a US Search Award finalist, US Global Agency Award finalist, Global Search Award finalist. We're really good at what we do.
And there's definitely proof with it.
Exactly.
So
So,
where can people find you though? You and Impressive.
so best place to find me, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you just search for Russ Macumber on LinkedIn, Russ Macumber, and impressivedigital.com. That's how to find us if you're in need of anything SEO paid media related for a consumer facing brand, impressivedigital.com.
Thank you so much for the chat, Russ. I hope we can catch you again for the fourth season of ours, where we can actually bring you on for another episode. But I've learned so much. I honestly wish we could have chatted a lot longer. I felt like we could go on and on for hours. But I'm glad that you did speak as much as you did. And I'm so happy that you've actually brought it down into a very compact and concise version. So for that, thank you so much.
No worries. Pleasure.
Thanks for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed. For more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe.